is just fantastic. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Hope you're having a marvellous day today. Today we're going to be providing an update to Johnny Somali because it's highly likely he's going to go to prison. Based on more recent court appearances and his dire financial situation, prison might suit him. Before that though, we need to address other clips that have been doing their rounds. The first is a consequence of accepted culture. The IRL streamer format, to me, is one I will actively, openly look down upon even though I don't get anywhere near the views they get. I'm not going to compromise my integrity or dignity at the expense of other people's, or for a little extra money. We could all do with extra money, of course we could, but I will not compromise values for that, nor for what is dubbed relevancy. I don't need to be one of those cliche streamers that has to show off the most expensive thing in my collection. For many of them, it's some sports car they have to pose next to in colour matching clothing. If you're that kind of streamer, you're crap, by the way. Because of this, you see more people, typically Americans, going to other countries and acting like arseholes. Exhibit A here.
Look at you! Look at you!
Streamers like this always get tied to the likes of Johnny Somali because Johnny is one facing the actual consequences next to Vitaly. Although unlike Vitaly, I still get views talking about Johnny. The second clip I want to show you is a friend of Johnny's called Hank, who is curious as to why the internet hates him.
Why are they targeting me? Guilty by association. My mom and my dad
talk about your family.
does not care whether he dies, whether an American citizen dies from starvation. So, like, why should I be also punished?
The answer to why is quite simple. If you're not so smart, you'll struggle to be able to comprehend it because you're assholes. Simple as that. You can try and act like you're going to change. You can try and pretend you're better or it's all just a joke, but the reality is, once an asshole, the internet will never forgive. And those that have been dropping Johnny on a regular are all military trained. They could have done much worse to him, but they don't have to. They just don't want to see someone like Johnny further sullying the home that they live in, considering what they have all had to go through or what their ancestors went through. So as we know from last week, with all the charges he's facing, Johnny Somali could face up to 30 years in prison. It's unlikely to be that severe, but he could face a few years regardless. The more recent charges involve deepfakes of another streamer, a big no-no in South Korea, a big no-no in many countries. But South Korea culturally takes this very different to other countries and states that would simply slap you on the wrist. On May the 16th, Johnny Somali had his second court appearance, in which he faced more obstruction of business charges and charges for allegedly creating deepfakes. 10.5 years, by the way, for creating deepfakes. In his first court date, he turned up late and he was warned by the judge to not, because that could incur additional, charges. It's contempt, isn't it? He was late again, and before even taking the stand, his lawyer was looking for him. During this hearing, Johnny disputed claims of creating deepfakes and distributing, the 2 counts of the charges of distributing deepfakes, where he went on to plead not guilty. However, his lawyer was completely unable to provide one iota, one Higgs boson of evidence to prove his innocence. He did, though, plead guilty to playing music on a bus, causing the bus to be late, causing a disruption at a theme park, Lot World, that caused a ride to in turn be shut down. Obstruction of business carries a maximum penalty in South Korea of 5 years, with 3 counts. If consecutive, that's 15 years. No lie, I hope consecutive. It's the only way some people will learn. Concurrent is a joke. Johnny's next hearing won't be taking place until August the 13th, 2025, and it will in turn be a full day of testimony. This hearing, though, did not answer any additional charges he is being accused of. This would include threatening to spread HIV, broadcasting North Korean propaganda, and violating anti-terrorism laws, all of which we covered in last week's video on this subject. I'll link those or that video anyway, down below. Now would be a good time to talk about the charges he has already pled guilty to. During his first court appearance, he showed up late hungover, so a little contempt there. He pled guilty to obstruction of business for causing chaos in a 7-Eleven, and 2 counts of minor crime acts after he harassed people with a dead fish and twerked on the subway. Considering how small he is, I'm not entirely sure how they quantify twerking. So basically, the majority of his charges that he has pled guilty to include interfering with businesses in some manner, whether that be a 7-Eleven, causing a bus to be late, or shutting down a ride at a theme park by being a colossal jackass. I'm surprised they haven't managed to slap additional charges onto him for when he's laid down in the middle of the road after he's been dropped by somebody, which he rightfully deserved at this point. There are people in my country who have gone to prison for years over a tweet. If he doesn't go to prison, it would be a miscarriage of justice based on their own rules. And just to be clear here, sticks and stones break bones, words won't hurt. I fully agree with this mantra. He should be allowed to say whatever he wants. But that is not something believed or shared by many others in different cultures and countries. One must respect their cultures and their country. In my country, he'd probably get an award for it. King's Medal, perhaps? Based on potential prison sentences, the most severe charge he is facing are the deepfakes. As an individual charge, that is. The accumulated charges don't help, because based on what he's facing so far, he is looking at 15 to 20 years anyway, based on what those minor charges, minor crimes act charges, harassment of people, and of course the bus, the theme park. Yeah, not ideal, no, because obstruction of business is also frowned upon heavily, especially when you're in a country like South Korea that is growing at the rate it is growing at. It wants its businesses to operate at full capacity for as much as possible. And spreading North Korean propaganda, which isn't a charge you've yet been dealt with on yet. I just want to say, most of us here around the world want North and South Korea to finally become just Korea. People of North Korea are suffering enough as it is. The South don't need to be reminded of the threat of the North that often. It is a very tentative situation for them to be in. So there is another area we need to touch upon within this video, and that is Johnny Somali's financial situation. For this we go to an article from International Business Times, titled "Johnny Somali Runs Out of Money, Begs for Help as Korean Court Drama Escalates." Oh no, what a shame. Johnny Somali's public meltdown has turned into a desperate fight for survival, as legal issues and mounting debts threaten to end his career and perhaps his freedom. If he's found guilty on so much as one of those deepfake charges, which he is, it's mandatory prison. South Korea doesn't mess around. We know of this because of legal mindset. The YouTuber, that's not what he is, but okay, is running out of options in South Korea. The 24-year-old, known for his clickbait stunts, now faces a bleak future amid ongoing legal battles and financial ruin. Well, I guess the one thing he has on his side is there's a US embassy in South Korea. When he gets out of prison, he can go there or they'll deport him. They'll do it on Ryanair, so he'll have to check all his luggage, which will be just himself, and he'll probably have to get his shots before flying and being dropped off at the nearest airport, which would happen to be the closest he can get to America, Pyongyang. There is very little in the way of sympathy when it comes to Johnny's legal and financial situation. You've destroyed what credibility you had on multiple platforms, and your real gift, your only gifts to the world, includes you being an arsehole. The self-described internet troll, infamous for his controversial behaviour, okay, we're getting an ego thing here, don't care. His behaviour has caused legal repercussions in a number of locales, Japan, Israel and South Korea. A recent Telegram message obtained by fellow YouTuber Legal Mindset paints a stark picture. I don't use Telegram, so I didn't see this. Somali is currently banned from working under a travel restriction and has run out of money. Oh, what a shame. The message reads, Johnny has a travel ban. Korea doesn't let him work and doesn't give him any support. Johnny is out of money now and I'm supporting him. There is no choice, he will starve if I do not. It included a PayPal link requesting donations for his legal costs. The message also continued by saying the attorney fees are too burdensome. If there are people who can help, please donate. In response, Professor CEO criticised by saying, "It is an article that announces Somali's tragic downfall. further stating the idiom self-inflicted punishment comes to mind. Professor CEO stated, "It's a problem that foreign YouTubers have continued to engage in crimes due to Somalis, citing that YouTubers Black Dave and Ice Poseidon also caused all sorts of noise while recklessly wandering around Seoul and Busan." He emphasized, "We must impose severe penalties on Johnny Somali, who is currently on trial, to set a good precedent. We must ensure that foreign YouTubers who mock South Korea and threaten passers-by cannot wreak havoc in the country any longer." Somali's issues in Korea began because of his choice. He made this decision to go from Israel or Japan to Israel to here, to be an asshole on purpose, because that's all he has in the online space. There is civility, and yeah, there are going to be trolls, but there are lines in the sand, they're unwritten rules, and because they're unwritten, now they're about to be written because of him. The support for Johnny is not just dwindling, it has completely fallen off a cliff. It is why so few people are interested in helping. Using people like Black Dave and Ice Poseidon to drive home this point is totally valid. There are many other streamers who are just as irritated on whichever platform they want to use, where they regularly like to push some kind of coin and short it so they can pocket all the money that it has generated. Hi, Jack Doherty. Johnny is 24 years old. His future is, as stated in many articles, looking a little on the bleak side. I feel not a shred, an iota of any sympathy for him. You're 24. I'm 39, and honestly I've never once been tempted to be an arsehole like this. And people like Johnny and any other streamer that goes to another country need to give more consideration to what pull they really have, the influence they have, what money they can generate before they get caught in a position like this, where they are then stuck, being forced to beg for donations, perhaps even beg for food. It is fortuitous that Johnny's only half the size of a normal adult and doesn't require anywhere near the amount of food as everyone else. He'll get used to that when he goes to prison as well, before then being deported and banned from South Korea. If streamers like Johnny don't get their crap in order, more countries, especially in Asia, are going to go in on you harshly, and they're going to make it so you are impossible, or it is impossible, for you to do what you deem your job to be. Social media influence as an occupation does have potential to be greatly beneficial, provided you're not an entitled twat. This isn't influencing, in a positive sense anyway, unless the positive sense is making sure that streamers, live streamers, IRL streamers are incapable of doing any of what they dub their job to be in countries they do not come from. Well done, Johnny, I guess?